Welcome to the Filmmakers412 podcast. I'm your host, Michael Ray. Today's interview is with Fernando De La Cruz. Fernando is a local filmmaker and photographer and podcaster, and you name it, he's done it. So here's our interview with Fernando. Fernando, thank you for coming in today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm doing good, Mike. Yeah, how you doing?
Good.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, let's start off. Well, let's just go right to the thing. Let's talk about your past. Let me hear about how you got into filmmaking and sort of your origin story, how you got into this to begin with, what inspired you and all that.
So the origin story when it comes to filmmaking, it all started when I was a kid, and honestly, I didn't think I would fall into the filmmaking path. My father was always into script writing, and he always took me out to the theaters, and I was on one way to Bond, but I never really thought I would do something like this. Then, I actually went to school for graphic design, but right after college, I was like, I was doing the whole, you get a degree. What's the natural thing you do? You apply to get a job. You go find different places to, get your foot in the door. But then I was finding every location I went to, it was like, I felt like I was working in a dungeon. I couldn't be creative, and I felt dead inside. And I was like, I can't do this the rest of my life. I was like, this ain't for me.
What kind of jobs were you doing?
So there was one when I was doing the applying process. It was like where I had to make coupons, those back in the day. I don't know if they still do it now, but you go in, you get one in your mail, like Shop and Save, whatever. You see these different coupons. Basically, I would be using Adobe
Illustrator.
No, it's the layout. Like you lay out different things on it. It's almost like how they do for books.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I just can't think of the name too.
Yeah.
It's a graphic design.
Yeah.
It's the basic graphic.
Yeah.
Graphic
And
design.
so there was that, and I was like, it was only $15 an hour, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. But you might work extra hours, and I was like, so I'll be doing that. And they're like, hey, yo, we got graphic design job degrees too, and we don't like it, but hey, it gives us money. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't. So I went back to Dunkin', doing coffee and whatnot. Yeah, okay. Went back to doing coffee and making coffee and whatnot. And I was thinking to myself, what in my life made me happy? And I remember back when I was in broadcast and production, when I was in senior year. And I remember us making these different films. I remember back when I would play with the camera myself, and I was like, I wanted to, if I could shoot a film, but then I was hesitant. Then I ran to a class called Light Film School, and they had a degree, certificate program where you study how to make music videos. And I was like, well, I do like music, so why not give it a shot? So I did that program, and I got my certificate, and I made my first music video. And I remember my first music video, my very first one, I somehow broke my left hand. No, my right hand. I broke my right hand on the day I was supposed to shoot. And I arrived on set, and they're like, what the hell happened? I'm like, I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even know, literally. And I ended up using a gimbal with a Nikon that had no autofocus. And I ended up shooting it, putting the gimbal in my armpit and trying to grip it and try to focus at the same time. It was not easy, but I was able to do it. And after that, I was like, this is really cool. Then I ran into First Angel Media, and they introduced me to a band called Trobadelic, and they were shooting a concert here in downtown. I'm starting to get that tone now. Yeah. And I shot for Trobadelic, and I was scared at first to go on stage. I didn't know what to do. So the lead singer literally pointed his finger at me to come on stage, and I ran up stage, and I saw a crowd of people, and I was like, this is really cool. And that was about 4 years ago, and I was like, I can't stop doing this now. And so I ended up shooting films from there, and I ended up doing little projects in the beginning called like Shattered, Pick Up, Our Turn. And I was getting the feel of what it's like being a filmmaker, like the stress, writing the project, the deadlines. For example, even 48s, those be stressful. I'm not gonna lie, but it's fun at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, you finish the project, and it's like I put all that work and turned into something beautiful.
Yeah.
All that stress.
So you wear a lot of different hats. I know I've seen you on set as an actor. I've seen you on set as behind the scenes person. What else do you do? What do you like to do?
For me, I like to do the cinematography and the editing and the writing. But for me personally, I love holding a camera, but now since I've been working for Channel 4 now, that's all I do. And so like I'm laying back on making projects now, but I do have projects in the works. We could talk about that later. But I'm loving more of the editing, the color grading, and the writing, because lately I've been helping like my reporters come up with the story and create the stories that you see on the news. And that's what I'm liking the most. Now lighting, I don't mind lighting, but I'd rather, like for you, for example, I'd rather someone else take that hat, because I know lighting, I know the basics, but I'm stronger at editing, writing, and cinematography.
It's actually, I'm surprised how many people that are these weekend warrior filmmakers are only involved on the weekends. Like you're an editor, and I know another guy that's an editor, and I know another guy that's he's a DP kind of filmmaker, 9 to 5, but the rest of these guys out here, they do other jobs. And it's like, I don't know if they'd want to be filmmakers and commercial video people too. It just seems like a natural step. I mean, one's a little more creative than the other one. I don't know. What do you think?
What do you think on why people fall in the...
Yeah, like, do you think most people that aren't into video 9 to 5 would be into video 9 to 5 if they could be? Or do they like to keep that separate?
I think if they could, because a lot of people like to do it for fun, because, for example, a lot of people go to movies to release their stress. So some people, they probably think, you know what? I wonder if I give it a try. And they do. Once you do that one little taste, it's like you just don't want to stop. It's so freaking fun. And then like for me, like, even though I'm a photojournalist, I still have that urge to want to make a film, even though it's exhausting holding around a 30-pound camera for 8 hours. But after that, it's like, you know what? I want to be able to be creative and make something of my own. And I think that's probably what it is. Because
now, do you much prefer the filmmaking aspect of it as opposed to the commercial stuff?
Yeah. So a lot of people ask that. And for me, it's more like commercial. It's like everything is done for you, and you're doing it for someone else. Whereas if it's filmmaking, unless you're directing someone else's film, for filmmaking, if it's your film, you're creating something that's yours instead of someone else's. So you have more control, and it's more of a satisfaction because you put all that work creating something that you've always wanted to make, and now it's coming to life.
True. I understand that.
Yeah.
Like, what are your favorite hats to wear?
Hats, it's cool. It's for me, when it comes to the hats, like I said, I like to be a cinematographer.
That's your number one hat?
Yeah, number one hat. And then next under that is writing. Then under that is editing. But I do want to get more involved in being a director, because there's certain things when it comes to making a film that I have a certain look that I want to see, especially if I'm the one that wrote it. I'd rather be the one that directs it, because to me, it's not all the time. It's a common thing for other directors to direct someone. It's a common thing for directors to direct someone's film that someone else wrote. But for me, it's better. Maybe this is just me being, this is my personal opinion. It's better when the person that wrote it directs it, because they put all that hard work and it's their vision. So they should be the one that directs it.
Right. Do you find that you have a certain style, and can you articulate what that style is? That's kind of it's kind of an intangible. It's hard to really
Yeah.
put into words, but
When it comes to the style, I like a lot of low light. Like a lot of people, they lighting does everything, but for me, I like a lot of low light because a lot of the stuff that I write is it's almost every single time it has to be psychological. It has to be a mystery and dramatic horror, but a lot of those, to get that feeling across, there has to be a lot of low lighting plus colors. But lighting does help. But for me, I just liked a lot of low light and movement, because I noticed that a lot of times when I'm filming, I can't stand still. Like a lot of people, they like to put on a tripod, but to me, if like you grab more of the person's attention when it's moving, or like for example, I don't know if you saw Scream or the new Scream 6. All right, well, the Scream franchise in general, I noticed that the director of photography, there's a lot of movement that creates a lot of tension.
you mean handheld camera stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Is that your favorite genre? Is horror?
Yeah, but horror, that's not. I hate the whole gore slasher stuff, blood and gore. I do not believe in blood. To me, I mean, if you want to use blood, that's fine. But if that's all you're doing, to me, at that point, you're relying on it. To me, it's more about the story and it being psychological, because if it's psychological, it grabs more of the viewer's attention because it can become more realistic, and it can enhance their ability to focus on what's going on, because it becomes more realistic and it messes with their head. So for example, like when I saw like I Know What You Did Last Summer, it's like it's psychological, but it's like you have to figure out who did it. You have to really get deep into it. Or why am I going on blank?
Pressure.
Or yeah, it's fine. Anything that deals with like you trying to figure out what's really going on, where you have to really pay attention.
You like some twisty stuff.
Right. I do not like it when you could see the ending coming. It's like, that's why I like Scream, for example, because it's like, was it them? It's like you're trying to figure out, so it makes you watch it. You have to pay attention to every single detail.
What's your favorite movie?
Halloween of all time. Halloween,
really?
that's my favorite time of all time, yeah.
I don't even think I've seen that. Horror has never been one of my favorite genres. I get hired to do these, and it's like I'm thinking as a sound guy, okay, people are going to scream. I got to like, it's like,
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't really care for horror all that much. But I don't.
That and Sinister.
Sinister. That I never even heard of.
Sinister, I believe it's called Sinister. I only say that because that's the number one movie that I felt was the one film that really messed me up. Because a lot of films that are horror, it's like, oh wow, someone's getting hurt. Oh wow, they tripped. Typical. Why are you breaking your leg out of nowhere? The final girl. Sinister and The Black Phone. That's another one. The Black Phone really messes with your head. Now all the movies are coming to me. The Black Phone, that was phenomenal. The new Halloweens, I'm not a big fan, but I like the last one, even though people didn't like it, because it goes outside of Michael Myers and it goes into an actual person, because it tells like what can truly happen to a person if they are told all their life they're this, they're that, they're this, they're that, especially if it's an accident. What happens to a person when they're pushed to the point where they can't take it anymore? Then they become who they are.
Okay, I
So
got
stuff
you.
like that, yeah.
So you like the psychology of everything, the
Yes.
writing.
Yeah.
So, what are your goals? Like, you're in this filmmaking biz. Like, what do you really want to do with it? Do you want to become, like, what do you want to become?
For me, I want to become a director, and of course, people are always saying like, "Yeah, I want to make it to the red carpet. I want to make it to the Grammys." That's a typical answer. For me, it's more like I want to be able to tell a story and be happy, and it to be like a story that can connect a lot of people together. So, for example, like, of course, like what I wanted to get paid, we all want that. But for me, it's just I want to be able to be at a point where I can make films and do it for a living and be happy. It doesn't have to be rich, but I want to be comfortable. And for me, I think it's an amazing feeling when you see something on a big screen and it's yours, you know? And of course, like getting a Grammy, that's fun, that's cool and all. But for me, it's more like I just rather be a director, a well-known director that's able to say, you know what, I made it. Because I remember there was this one story we did about a kid, and he was from I believe it was Wilkinsburg, and no, it wasn't Wilkinsburg. Anyways, we did a story about this kid who he did all his hard work and he finally was able to be an influence for the youth. And that's the number one thing that I look into too. I want to be able to make it and tell people that when you put your hard work into something, this is what can happen. Because not a lot of people have someone to look up to, you know, and it doesn't take a long time. Yeah, it ain't easy. But to be an influence for someone young, to be like, you know what, I can do that too. It's an amazing feeling because I saw him and they did a parade for him. And I don't want a parade, but they were like looking up to him because that dude was like 22, 23, and now he's a famous football player. And I was like, that's a goal.
You don't have to make it to Hollywood to consider yourself a success.
Yes. You don't have to make it to Hollywood. There's a lot of people that aren't well known in this world that are phenomenal at what they do, but they consider themselves being successful. To me, the definition of being successful is as long as you're happy doing what you do, you're successful.
I agree. Totally agree. So what's your action plan to get where you want to go?
So for right now, I don't want to yell. So for right now, I gotta calm it down. For right now, I'm slowly working on another project that I'm trying to get going for this year. And I want to be able to market and be able to put it into different film festivals to get my name out there. So that's number one. And go into different podcasts. That's what I'm doing right now, to be able to market that, hey, I'm still here, because it has been a minute. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a while since I've released a new film, but I'm here to say that I'm coming back. And once I come back, I'm gonna come hard. Once I come back, you're gonna know. Yeah, we can edit that.
No, we're not. We're keeping that one.
Oh my god!
It might change the rating of the podcast, but from G to R, but that's okay.
Oh boy!
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So, like specifically, okay, you're here to sort of promote an idea. Tell me what that idea is.
So right now, like since I've been taking a break, a little pause on filmmaking, I've been doing a lot of writing lately. So it all started that I've been getting a lot of working for Channel 4. It does get to your head psychologically. So lately I've been
in what way? Like just a stifling way, you mean?
Like for instance, like if you do a story that deals with homicide or anything that's very dark, that's what I'm doing a lot lately. It's action news. It does get to you psychologically, so I had to go back into therapy. But lately, I've been having some night terrors. And my therapist noticed that I've been into writing, and I've been writing a lot lately.
It's a good thing, right?
Yes, it's a way. What I try to do is, like, instead of me, like, holding it in, I write what happened, and that way it's out of my head. So I don't have to think about it anymore. He told me, well, what if you were to take that story or what you dreamt about and change what happened so that way it turns into something good? I was like, huh. So I've been doing that lately, and they've been turning into little stories. And then I've been reading them to my girlfriend Olivia lately, and she was saying, you ever thought about, People like Goosebumps, right? You like Stephen King, right? Why not? You ever thought about like, getting it out there?
I'm not sure I follow the whole idea of like, it seems like if you were, I can understand writing things down and that gets it out, but
Yeah.
at the same time, aren't you sort of dwelling on it? I mean, how, I didn't get the part about changing into something good. Like, if it's shit, it's shit. You know what I mean?
Right. But the thing is, like, that's how he was telling me, like, take it out and change the story. It doesn't, if it ends up dark, it ends up dark. But if you change the story psychologically, that will be what goes in your head. That's what he was telling me to do, and it's been helping me. Like, I've been changing how the story goes and how it ends.
Give me a quick example.
So for example, I dreamt about a girl who was invisible, and it's so weird. I mean, it's like I'm in POV of someone else. Anyways, I dreamt about a girl who was curled in a ball against the wall, and there was a boy that was going to her. Why are you alone here? Are you okay? Why are you crying? And she stated, it's because whenever I go around someone, I feel invisible and acts like I'm never seen. And he was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And she literally got up and walked toward him, and he turned invisible. She turned invisible, and she was like, he was responding where she went, and she stepped back saying, like she was screaming and yelling, and it was like turning to really freaking dark where she was going psychotic. So I woke up from that, and that like terrified me, and I was like, what if I changed it to, well, why do you look at that being something bad when you can actually use that as an ability to do something good? You know what I'm saying? And so he convinces her to not hate herself, be able to help people with that ability. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. So like, it's like, even though like it's messing with your head psychologically, but when you wake up and change how it ends, it can actually turn into something better.
So your projects are doing these kind of things, but making films out of them?
Well, I've been turning them into stories right now. That's where I'm trying to get to. Where lately I've been turning these night terrors into stories and turning them into like audio books, which is why I'm trying to promote the Decadence of Umbra. That's why I've been doing teasers and whatnot, where I'm telling stories that are dark stories and whatnot, almost like how Stephen King, Goosebumps, horror stories, and marking them out there. But those, yes.
Is this going to be in a podcast format?
Yes. So right now it's going to be audio, and it's starting on April 14th. And right now they're going to be audio format, but the goal is to turn those stories into films.
Okay. How many stories do you have in the bin right now?
So right now I have about 8, and I have about 2 more that are in development. And
have they been recorded yet, or are they just written at this point? Recorded?
Yes. So I have 4 of them that are recorded right now, and the rest are in the works to be recorded.
Okay. How long are they?
So some of them can range from 14 to 20 minutes long. It's because like, I don't like, to me is, if you take your time to a degree, you don't want to go slow-mo, it grabs more the attention more of people connecting with the character. And then I add a little bit of sound effects to make it feel like, I can't do movement here, but I add a little sound effects to make them feel like, people feel like they're actually there. It gives you like a cinematic experience as if you're actually in the character's shoes. And that's what I've been trying to do with the audiobooks.
So it's like theater of the mind. I mean,
Yes.
The old days radio,
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah.
They had that kind of thing. Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So back to filmmaking.
Yes.
Have you ever done a feature, or have you only done shorts?
Yes, I've helped out with one feature film called Horiath, which, yes, doing a feature, that's a process, but I love doing features. But yes, I've mainly done shorts. And
have you ever written a feature?
Yes, I've written one feature, and that one is still in development because it's like you write it, but then I have to do another draft because now I want to read through it and take out all the kinks. But that's another project which I don't want to tell what it's about yet till later. But yes, I've written a feature.
Do you like features better than shorts?
Yeah, I like doing features. I like features better than shorts. To me, it's like you get more your name out there when you do shorts. And then features, it really gets your name out there, but the process of making shorts, it's a lot more quicker. So that's why I like doing your shorts a lot more. Whereas features, it's a fun experience, but it takes a lot of time.
It's grinding.
Yeah, it's a lot of grinding, but it's a good grind. But I want to work myself up to that instead of like jumping on in to that.
I think if you sort of build a crew around doing shorts,
Exactly.
it's easier to get people to donate their time for a weekend.
Yeah.
And doing a feature, it's like all summer.
Process, yeah.
It's like
It
takes
time.
so much time.
And that's the thing. Like I remember when we were doing Riot, that was the number one problem. The number one problem is scheduling, because everyone has a life. When features, you're absolutely right. It's a lot more easier to get everyone on a weekend, but compared to a feature, that's why it takes years, because like you have to get everyone to have to do the 9 to 5, or they have to do their project, or maybe they're going to a wedding, like everyone, or they're going on vacation, or they're going away, But to put them all together, to get them all together for something that's like 2 hours long, it's a long time.
Have you ever like got into the process of raising money to do these things? Like actually pay people to do it, and therefore having their availability when you need them. They're more willing to help if they get
that's
paid.
something I want to learn more about. So for me personally, when I was with 3BT, we were learning how to do that. But now I'm with myself, and that's something I still want to learn. I'm not going to lie about that. I'm still learning on how to do that. But yes, I do plan on wanting to be able to, because when you're a filmmaker, especially in the beginning, even if it's 4 years later, it's a process to be able to pay people, but you still want to pay for their time. So even if it's paying for their gas, or paying for even if it's like what, $100 in one day, at least it's something. So that's what I plan on doing. Yeah. Now when it comes to raising funds, that I still want to learn.
Yeah, that's the hard part in this, because
Yeah.
chances are we're not going to hit it big. We're not going to be able to have a return on investment for any kind of investor.
Yes.
It's sort of our hobby that we want other people to finance, basically.
Right.
And it's a creative outlet for us. I think some of the people that are doing sort of maybe a religious kind of film or something, they can more likely get people to back them just because it's it's like spreading that word, and other people are willing to spend some money. It's almost like putting money in a plate at church kind of thing.
That's actually hard, because I've noticed that a lot of films, when it comes to religion, they don't end up. I don't know if there's a reason for that, but I noticed that when it comes to something that's religious, it doesn't stay in the theater that long, or it's really hard to get out there, even marketing wise, because nobody really wants to watch a religious film. Like, for example, like God Is Not Dead, or God Is, I believe that's what it's called, or Fireproof, for example. They don't stay in the theaters that long. Why is that? Why do you feel that is?
Why do I feel it is?
Yeah.
It's a diminished market. I mean, there's really, there's not that many people into it. Every year, the interest in religion goes down and down. But that's one of the things I was saying, that like if you want to help spread the word, that's the way you could do it, is by donating to filmmakers that are doing that kind of thing. That's what I'm saying. So you're more likely to get funding as a filmmaker if you can appeal to, a religion that would be willing to back you, or the people of a religion that are willing to back you.
I got you.
That was my point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was just curious, because to me, like, I'm working on a film coming up where I'm getting paid.
Right.
And like, I've been paid before to do jobs, and some of them have been at full rate. As a sound guy, you get paid your full rate as a sound guy, which is very unusual. And I'm willing to work for free, because that's like my community. I'm trying to help the people I like. But at the same time, if you can get paid, it's sort of nice, and it almost ruins you to some extent. It's like, well, I can get paid, or I can, work on this project where I don't get paid. So, it's just greed.
Yeah, it's people take it more seriously too when they do. I've noticed that too. People take it more seriously when they know that they're going to get paid. But at the end of the day, though, you have to understand, like, we're all struggling, but if we get to do this together and support one another, like you're getting back to the community, like you were saying, get back to the film community, it can turn into something greater, but it's just,
yeah,
it takes time.
There's like an interesting phenomenon that I noticed in myself. If I get paid, if I know I'm getting paid and it's a little bit, I resent it to some extent, or I'm not, like, it kind of bums me out a little bit, which is kind of weird. Well, I had this experience with this one guy, and he offered to pay me, and it was like probably 25% to 30% of what I would normally make. And, something's better than nothing, definitely. But at the same time, the guy kind of had this attitude like he owned me. You know what I mean? It's like, and it kind of bugged me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I try to be aware of my feelings. So it's like, why do I feel that way? I mean, it's like generous, but like at the same time, I'll work for another guy, and at the end of the shoot, he'll flip me another, $100 or $200, and it's like, I'm really appreciative of that. I'm grateful. Whereas if you tell me that, like, okay, you're paying me $200, and you better do this, or it's like an attitude thing. It's like all of a sudden I'm not contributing, I'm being paid for something. I don't know. It's weird about me. It's probably just me too. It's an idiosyncrasy. I'm weird.
Maybe it's because, like, of course we all want to get paid, but the moment we put money into it, it's almost like it's not really about being creative. Whereas when you do something where you create, it's coming from you, and that is
right. I think there's a lot to be said for what you just mentioned, for sure. So what are your strengths as a filmmaker? What do you think your strengths are when you compare yourself to the ones around you that you've worked with? Because you've worked with quite a few, wearing all these different hats. What makes you better? And you're not. I know you're better in some ways and you're worse in some ways. What makes you better in some ways?
I want to say I'm better, but I say when it comes to me, I have a habit, even though when I'm a director, I'll be honest, like I'm human, I get nervous and whatnot. But the thing is, I'm real. If I tell you I'm not sure, I will tell you I'm not sure. I will never lie to you. Or when it comes to connecting with people that want to work with me, I'm very, very communicative, as in, like,
you're open.
I like to be personal.
Are you open to suggestions?
Oh yes, I'm very open to suggestions. I'm never one to say, no, we need to do it this way. If it fits with the timing and fits with the script, of course. And when it comes to, like, even when it comes to improving, I'm the type where, as long as you know the base and how the shot or the scene goes, I want you to put yourself in it and react how you would react naturally.
Right. I've been in so many films where, like, a line is scripted and it is so stilted. I mean, it's like, instead of saying, yes, I'll do that, it would be, yeah, I'll, you know what I mean? It's like, if you change it up just a little bit slang-wise or whatever, it sounds so much more natural, but yet at the same time, some people just aren't willing to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm a photographer. That's what I do for a living, like I said 100,000 times on this podcast. But, like, I like to give suggestions, but I know that I'm not the director. I know that I throw suggestions out there and I say, feel free to ignore me. Just feel free to ignore me. It's an idea. Because I know as a director, you're thinking about 100 different things. You know what I mean? So it's real easy to overlook that lamp on in the background that's really distracting.
Exactly.
So if I see that, then I can suggest that. And there are some people that just don't want to hear that. Some people are really open to it. The open people are the ones I like to work with because I feel like I'm more part of the crew.
Right. It's almost like to me. It's like I don't want people to be in my crew and be like feel like they're working. I want them to have an experience where it's like I had a great time. I would love
To come back next week.
Yes, instead of like work, I would like to work for them because to me it's like if you feel like it's work, it's not gonna be fun. I like to have people have a fun time. Of course, be on time, but let loose, be yourself to a degree because that's when it can go haywire. But
Right. It can get out of hand. I mean, sometimes you just get too much input.
Yeah.
And that could be just distracting. And I don't know. I know as a photographer, I don't like when too many people give me input. But at the same time, I know I'm part of a command chain. Like, I'm trying to make my art director happy. The art director's trying to make the client happy. So I realize I'm a teammate that is very important, but at the same time, I am not the final say. Like,
Right.
I'm not a prima donna and say, no, we do it my way or we do it the highway kind
Yeah.
of thing. So I understand that. And I think I bring that to the film sets too. Okay, we talked about your strengths. What are your weaknesses?
Now the weakness,
Oh, you know that right away. Huh? You went right to that.
the weakness, because everyone always I work too hard. Blah, blah. To me, it's more like whenever
I'm not talking general. I'm talking as a filmmaker. What are your
Right.
filmmaking weaknesses?
when I see something that is wrong and I feel needs to be corrected, sometimes I dwell on that and saying, what can I do to make this better? Instead of it being, it's fine the way it is, I have a habit of looking at something and, well, what if we did it like this? But then it ends up taking more time. It's like you dwell on something that's fine the way it is, but then you add more layers on it to make it a sandwich taste better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's actually my pet peeve. And I just talked about this in a couple of podcasts not
Yeah.
that long ago. So it's like I'm repeating myself. But at the same time, I think that's our problem in the like indie filmmaking community, that we're too willing to let things slide. Like, that's good enough. Whereas I almost think that instead of doing a 10-minute short or, an hour and a half feature, we should do one freaking scene. That's it. And make it perfect. Like, just make the lighting perfect, the sound perfect, the get the best acting, get it perfect. And like the composition in each frame, make it so picturesque that it just is breathtaking. I mean, that's what I think we ought to do, because that's what I think the professionals do with every scene. And I think, and they have more assets than we do. They have more resources. They have 30 people on set to make this all happen. But if we slow ourselves down and we take our time, and like one of the things that I mentioned earlier too was like one of the things that I just want to do to you DP types when you're doing a film, so often you just pull the camera up and, okay, that's the framing. Okay, it's like, just stop and ask yourself one question. Is that the best I can do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is this the best composition I can make?
Right.
Can I go down 2 inches and will it bring that leading line in? Or, it's
Yeah.
like, should that lighting be like a little more dramatic? Or, it's change the direction just a little bit. Maybe the ratio is too high and we need less fill to make it more, and it's like, just make it cinematic, make it Hollywood. That's what I think we should do. But I understand the restraints. It's like, okay, time is money. Everybody's donating their time. We can't come back for another day. It's we don't have this location. Or, I understand that, but I just think it's so frustrating. And I'd like to work on some more projects that would just sweat the details, like sweat the details.
Right.
So that's my pet peeve for the day. Sorry. So okay. If you know your weaknesses and you know your strengths, where do you go to learn more about what you want to do? Like, what's your, how do you get better?
Well, how I got better was since the very beginning. It's always the woods, and I see what I did and I practice more. I'm like, what was it that I messed up on? So I find a subject in the woods and I try to practice on how I did it there. and then that helps me learn more what
Wait,
I need
wait,
to do
wait.
next time.
I'm not. What are you talking about in the woods? I'm
So
not.
I don't know, I just have a thing about nature. I've always done this. Whenever I mess up on something on set, I always go outside. For example, like if I messed up on writing, I go outside and go in the woods and write underneath a tree. If I messed up on a camera shot, okay, well, what if I did this here and what if I did the same thing but on a flower or on a tree or look at the waters? What can I do to make this look better? You know what I mean? So I go outside and I do little exercises outside to help me improve myself. I don't know. I just always had a thing about nature, and every time I messed up, I always just went outside and I went deep into the woods and I would just practice there. Or if I need to help writing or I need to edit, I'd take my laptop and I go there.
Huh. That's interesting. Never heard that before.
I don't know. That's just me.
That's okay. You're a little weird, like the rest of us. So, how much television do you watch?
Oh, almost every night I'm always watching something.
Like I mentioned this last time too, but I was talking to Jesse Hutchins. He says he watches 2 movies a day.
I watch one film a day. Yeah.
Do you? One film?
One film every night.
Wow.
One film every night. And it's like, I remember my girlfriend asking me this, and it still stuck to me. She said, do you ever watch a film and watch it because you like it? Not because you want to study it. And I was like, oh crap, because every time I'm watching a film, I'm always watching it because there's always a purpose. It's not because I want to see it, it's because I want to understand how they did something, or I want to understand the story to see how they were able to make it psychological to get you, or how did they do the graphics, how did they do the lighting.
Give me an example of something give me an example of that.
So for example, when I was watching Thinner, I was trying to see what did Stephen King do to make losing food become something that's supernatural, and where every time he tried to eat, he was able to make food and turn it into something horrific. Which I don't know if you've ever read the book Thinner. So it's about a guy who's a lawyer who got away with a hit and run, and it was a gypsy's daughter, and the gypsy put a curse on him that every time he ate, no matter how much he ate, he would lose weight. And in the beginning, he was like, "Oh shoot, I'm 300 pounds. I lost 10 pounds.
This is awesome."
Yeah. And then after a while, it got worse and worse to the point where you see like literally his bones through his skin. And I was like, huh. Or like, for example, I can go back to this too, like whenever I watched like Scream, or what did they do to make you try to figure out who did it? What do they do to make you think it's them, but really it's this person? What do they do to hide it? Or for example, when I saw The Eternals, I found out that was actually all natural lighting. How did they do all the natural lighting? What tools did they use to make them not have to use external light sources? Or what did like, for example, there's a scene in the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, horrible, but what did they do? How did they do the colors and the lighting on the bus when everyone was shining their cameras, their phones on Leatherface to make it look terrifying but yet beautiful at the same time? You know, stuff like that. It's like, I always, when I watch, or Scream 6, I still want to see that because I want to study what the heck did he do, because it looks like he's using Unreal Engine, which that's a new way of filmmaking now.
That creates backgrounds.
Yes. And it's like, what did they do? What's Unreal Engine and what's not? What did they use to make the camera move in this motion? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm always analyzing something because I want to figure out what they did so that I can do it myself.
Does that ruin movies for you to some extent? Your girlfriend thinks it does.
Well, it's just funny because I remember when I was in college, I was actually that person where it's more like I remember when we were watching Predator and Nick was like, "Hey, yo, you know that entire forest right there, you see that's actually all inside of a big building. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I don't want to hear that. No, my girlfriend does. It's not really. She doesn't think it's ruining films. Actually, she's the one that's enhancing it because she is the same exact way where she's like, I like how Quentin Tarantino does this angle. I love how they do this. I love
Really?
how.
She's turning into you instead of you
No,
turning
she's
into her.
actually always been like this. I'm just now learning more because we both watch one film a day, and she's actually helping me.
Does she make you watch chick flicks and stuff?
No.
Okay.
Everything is it's always dramatic, which I like chick flicks. I don't mind them, but no.
Hallmark? You like
Yeah,
Hallmark?
okay, Hallmark. That's
You
no.
draw the line?
No, that's no. No. Lately, I've been watching a lot of. Cause she's a hardcore Quentin Tarantino fan and Kevin Smith, so I've been watching a lot of those, and I respect them because they didn't go to school for it, and they teach like you don't have to go to school to become a filmmaker. You can literally just do it yourself. It takes time, but you can do it yourself. So yeah, if anything, she's making me actually get worse in analyzing stuff.
I've just asked you about your own strengths and weaknesses. What are some observations? What are some things you see other filmmakers do, like in general, that you think they need to work on? Like, what are some of the weaknesses of other? Of course, don't mention names or anything, but what are some things that like you see people do and you think to yourself, oh man, that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Well, like for example, we were watching this film yesterday, and I was like, it can't be that bad. Have you ever seen the film Goblin? No. Oh my god. I watched it, and it made it on Amazon Prime. And the one thing I know about indie filmmakers is you can tell it's an indie film.
How can you tell? That's an interesting question. How can you tell it's an indie film?
The way how the quality of the camera, or they use a lot of harsh lighting. Like for example, there was a kitchen scene, or no, a bedroom scene, and it's nighttime, and they put a lot of blue light, or it looks like there's a blue light on to make it look like moonlight. That's totally an amateur move.
Now, do you think that's a lighting issue, or do you think that's a grading issue?
I think it's more of a lighting issue because to me, it's like if you want to use blue light, that's fine, but not that harsh.
One time, I was on YouTube. I think I was on YouTube, and I ran across a behind-the-scenes shoot of a John Wick movie. It was a fight scene, and I remember the fight scene from the movie.
Yeah.
But the behind-the-scenes shot was so open. You know what I mean? It's like the contrast just was not there. It was shot really flatly. And I was surprised. I thought the lighting was way too flat. But then you see the movie, and it looks like, real dramatic, like dark shadows. And, you get light where you want it and stuff. And that kind of blew me away. That's why I was asking about the ratio thing, or the grading versus the, because, I mean, I know enough about filmmaking to know that I don't know very much. And it's one of those things where that's a question I have, because I do like lighting. Okay, so should I be lighting flatter than I am now, or should I be trying to light it like I want it to look in the final, the final movie, which is what I'm doing now.
Right.
But I'm wondering, after seeing, that behind the scenes shot, maybe we shoot it flatter and we grade it harsher. I don't know. That's one thing I need to look at. Do you have any idea?
Well,
on
for
that?
John Wick, I think that's a different case, because John Wick's films, they have a habit of always being heavy in color, and that's the whole point behind it. But when it comes to something so simple as in doing a night scene, there's a point. Like if you want to add blue light, that's fine, but not that harsh to the point where I see like the highlights of the person's skin looking overexposed. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's what I saw in Goblin, and I was like, that's an amateur move. Or when the audio wasn't syncing up with the person that was talking, I was like, you guys really published this? Or when people are overacting, like they're in a theater, which I don't have a problem with theater people, but some like people are acting too dramatic or too much like a scumbag, or they're acting like a teenager and acting overly dramatic, oh, I hate my life. What the heck do you want? Like they overdo it. Like there's a point. And that's what I was seeing in Goblin. I was like, oh my gosh. No.
Huh.
I couldn't even watch that. I'd fell asleep. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah. What about some other sets you've been on? Not, don't mention anybody specific or anything like that, but are there some things you've seen happen that you disagreed with on how they were done? You know what I mean? Like, did it tend to be lighting, or was it acting, or was it,
Whenever, that's why I don't like the whole not letting the actors have a voice. Whenever I would be on certain sets, I felt like when the person had a voice or they had a suggestion, the director would hear it and then bypass it as if they didn't say nothing. That's something I've always had a problem with, because to me it's like at that point you're treating them like they're not a person. They're just speaking to you as like they're talking to a wall, and they bypass you.
Right.
That's one thing I've noticed. And that's one of the main things that I've noticed when it comes to film sets, or caring about the person's safety. That's another thing, which is a common thing when it comes to indie films, but at the end of the day,
oh yeah, we do some stupid stuff.
Yeah. And then whenever you see something that is dangerous, take care of that and then do the scene. Because if a lot of times when you're doing indie films, you don't have insurance.
Yeah, we're not OSHA approved at all.
Yeah, so you don't want them to get hurt, so make sure everything is okay.
Yeah, that's something we do, and it's like, yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, so what about projects that you're working on in the future? You mentioned this, you consider them audiobooks or podcasts, or how are you going to distribute them?
I'm going to distribute them more as like a podcast, but I'm also going to put it on YouTube as well. But I'm going to consider it more of a podcast.
Will it be on YouTube as just audio?
Yes, but you'll have a visual to help get your attention, but it will also be on Spotify. So, of course, I have like a Twitter, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. But mainly, I want to distribute them through YouTube and Spotify.
Now, have you begun that process?
But I'm not going to launch them until the start of April 14th and releasing a new story every Friday.
Okay, so I'm curious because I'm doing a podcast now, and I used to house this on a podcast platform, and then I got lax. I mean, it's just like, okay, the market on this isn't huge for sure. So it's not monetized in any way. So it was like $20 a month is coming out of my pocket, and I decided, I'm just gonna put this on YouTube and without video, and so I just have an icon that goes there, and you'll see it on YouTube, but it's not monetized anyways. But are you going the podcast hosting platform, and if so, which one are you using?
So there used to be an application called Anchor, which allows you to upload to all the podcast platforms for free. But Anchor was bought out by Spotify, so now it's called Podcasters. So now you can record everything and put it on that app, and it'll upload to Spotify.
And that's a
iTunes
free app?
Music. And it does everything for free. Almost like how, like, I don't know if you heard of CD Baby. Or Amuse, whatever it's called. It's where a lot of musicians, they can't afford to put it on iTunes and pay for it, so they go to Amuse, whereas you upload to that, and then it uploads to everywhere for you for free.
Huh. That's interesting. I didn't know that existed.
A lot of people don't.
Okay. So do you have any other projects you want to talk about?
No, the main one I want to talk about right now is The Decadence of Umbra, but...
Wait. Slow down and pronounce that, because I think I'm missing it here, and I have headphones on.
Oh, okay. The Decadence of Umbra.
Ooh, got your radio voice there.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean?
So The Decadence of Umbra, so it gives
What's Umbra? What's an Umbra?
An Umbra is like dark. It's another word for saying dark. So it gives
what
you a
language
taste.
is it?
Umbra is just a different word.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so Umbra is like,
Umbra.
it's like a taste of darkness.
Okay.
So a taste of dark stories. So it's like a decadence. You get a decadence taste of dark stories. So The Decadence of Umbra.
Okay, I get you.
Hmm.
So where's that going? Like, what do you want to do? Do you just want to keep that going and more
Yeah, I
and
want
more
to keep that
stories?
going and then build a following through that. And then that's what I was saying. I mentioned this on this filmmaking platform because the goal is to turn those stories, those audiobooks into films. So that's my goal is right now. But right now I'm just playing with it, see where it goes. And then if it becomes big, which I feel will be, I'll turn them into films.
Okay. Will they be short films or
Yeah, short films.
feature?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Okay, so if we should want to get a hold of you for a project or for whatever reason, how can we contact you?
Yeah. So you can contact me on Facebook because my phone's glued to me at all times. You can contact me on Fernando De La Cruz Films on my Facebook, or you can contact me on my website, fernandodecruzfilms.com, or you can contact me through my email, which is fernandodelacruzfilms@gmail.com.
Very good, very good. So is there anything else you want to say to the filmmaking community in here in Pittsburgh?
So there's a lot of times when it comes to filmmaking, you feel like, oh crap, this is too hard. We all feel this, but keep on pushing, keep on trucking. Yeehaw! And I was playing. You just got to keep on pushing yourself to know that at the end of the day, don't look at the goals, don't look at the end goal or the long run. Look at the now and cherish the journey, because at the end of the day, you're going to go through struggles and it's not going to be easy, but the journey it's amazing. You might not see it now, but you will see it later. And yeah, no matter what, you're going to get a lot of negativity saying you can't do it, you shouldn't do this, or you'll get lashed out. You're going to get that in anything that you do. But as long as you believe in what you do and have faith and love it, that's all that matters, no matter what people say.
Cool. Let's leave it at that. Well, thank you very much for coming in today. I do appreciate it. And good luck in all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Take care.
Yep.